Welcome back to this old house in Preston. I'm down in the basement, and my basement is decent sized, and the ceiling height is 6 feet. You've seen pictures of the basement before, and it's mostly dry, although here on the back side of the basement, where I have the window well windows on both sides of the house, the occasionally, if I get a heavy downpour, or if I get a day and a half or three of rain, I do get some overflow from the window well areas, so this area will get a little water on the floor. Nothing that doesn't evaporate in a in a day or two, but it is somewhat annoying, and I will address that as time goes by. But you can see that the shape of the basement was, not very inviting, very rough. It had been painted at one time. This is concrete block here, and there were a lot of holes in the walls. So what I was thinking of doing was maybe doing ceramic tile down here, a large format. But that's a big expense and a lot of work if I do it myself, an incredible amount of labor. And of course it would involve leveling the floor, because the floor is not level, and then installing the tile, which would have been nice, but and certainly something that would have been able to handle the moisture issue. So I did a couple of things. The front part of the basement had been completely dry, never a drop of water in on the floor, but the humidity gets very high in the summertime here in Maryland, and what I did was had a small dehumidifier that wasn't that effective, so I went out and bought a commercial dehumidifier. So this thing is pretty effective. I might have 80 to 90% humidity here in the basement, and I turn this thing on in a couple of hours, it's down to 60%. And the ideal humidity range for a space is usually between 40 and 60%. And I've got a hygrometer up here. Can't see it too well because the lighting's not good. Right now it says I'm just over 70% humidity in the basement, and that's after a couple of days of not having run it. But it does a good job of keeping the space dry, and it's not terribly power hungry. So I have not noticed too much of a jump in the electric bill when it's running, and I may leave it running for 4 to 8 hours during a day that's got particularly high humidity. And it's got a pump, a built-in pump, so there's a little tube there that goes outside the house, so I don't have to worry about emptying it on a regular basis. So hopefully it'll stand the test of time, and we'll see. But as you can see in the front part of the basement here, I've finished things off a little bit. One of the first things I did was to soak every surface with a fungicide, just to make sure there's minimize an amount of mold spores that might be left over. And I know that the fungicide was effective because I put it on a mushroom, and within 24 hours the mushroom had shriveled up and died. So I think that's effective. And then I sealed the concrete block with a waterproof sealer, and then painted it 2 coats of masonry paint. So I have a nice bright wall surface here on the concrete block. I left the brick piers unpainted, although I did again hit everything with the fungicide, and then I used some clear enamel on the mortar joints in the brick to kind of keep it from crumbling and having little bits of sand on my shelf here constantly. So I put in a couple of outlets. There's an outlet there. I put in an outlet there, and I put an outlet over here on this post on the side, so that I can plug in some things if I want to. Also painted the chimney stack. What I did on the floor was went and got some rubber flooring. This is a very dense product. It's similar to that is used on gym floors, although I didn't get it with any fleck. This is all black. Of course, what I didn't realize that while black may be good for not showing up a lot of dirt, because there's a lot of dust in the house, and my shoes pick up the dust, and then when I come down here to the basement, I leave little dusty footprints on the black. But it is waterproof, 100% waterproof, and I was able to install it fairly accurately, you know, going around the column, going around the stairs, going around the chimney stack, and thus have a surface that can be damp mopped and vacuumed fairly easily, but that gives a more finished look to the basement area as opposed to just the bare concrete floor. So I also did some stairwell work. When I had my final inspection, I was required to put in risers to block the openings under the treads. I was required to put in the handrail, and I was required to put in some sort of banister, which I did. So that's all done as you might find in an old house basement, but it's good and solid. And I put the little traction strips on the treads so that nobody slips coming down the stairs, because the treads are they're about 9 to 10 inches deep, so not super deep, but the traction strips aid in getting a secure hold on the tread. So I've moved in some furniture, which is a sort of a bold move, but the rowing machine, and as you can see, I've got a little chair, got an old sofa, and I've got this was originally a television cabinet, but it works perfectly as a spot for my amplifier, and guitar stand, and this is a modern cabinet for a stereo, and so I have a stereo, so I may put a stereo down here in the speakers, and then I've got this little inexpensive wardrobe which has shelves, and so it'll look just a storage here in the basement. So that's pretty much it for the basement. I may put a couple of lamps down here. I've got a safe to bring down and put here in the basement, and so it doesn't look as large in the video as it is in real life. Oh, and the other thing I did was between the piers, you may recall that there was a brick, a single thickness of brick, sort of like a curtain wall. That's what you see from the outside of the house at the foundation level. So the gray panels that you see there, that's an inch of foam insulation. Not that I necessarily needed it on this side of the house, but wanted to be consistent. So I have installed the panels of insulation between the piers. Obviously this is the block wall, so it wasn't needed there. And I've also installed the panels here. I have yet to install them on the ends, but I did get it on the back as well. And put some rock wool at the end of the floor joist bays there where the porch is. Put some stuffing into some of the cracks, and put some foam insulation. So try to close up some of the holes here in the wall. Try to keep the cold air from blowing in as much. Although this past winter was cold. We had many days where it was well below freezing, and we had some, I think, 3 measurable snowfalls where I had to get out and shovel. And so the basement got down to about 32 degrees. It was not a problem for my PEX piping, even though, they do say, not for freezing. Field experience has shown that the PEX is able to accommodate lower temperatures. And I was away for about 11 days when it was very cold. I turned off my water, and that way if there was a catastrophe, it would just be a limited amount of water that would leak. But no problems. So, and again, experimentation has shown that the PEX can accommodate freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing much better than the iron and the copper pipe. So, one of the pluses of PEX. In any event, so I've got my basement set up almost how I want it, and hopefully it'll be a little warmer next winter. We shall see. But here in the summertime, I'll use my new commercial dehumidifier to keep the humidity at a appropriate level and not have to worry about any mold. So that's it from the basement. Hopefully the next one will be topside.